Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 13th and final day of the Tata Steel Chess Tournament. We've got the Challengers section with a dominant two-horse race, and we got the Masters section where Nodirbek Abdusattorov from Uzbekistan, Anish Giri of the Netherlands, and Magnus Carlsen, surprise, surprise, rising up from the ashes, are all chasing first place. In this recap, I will take you through the epic storyline of multiple players' tournaments, and we are going to crown a winner. And the winner may surprise you. By the way, like my hoodie? Haven't worn this one in a while, a little Galaxy hoodie. Big news also, I'm currently working on a Gotham hoodie for all of you. I've never done merch, so let me know in the comments if you would get it. I'm like customizing it. It's gonna be really, really nice, really high quality stuff. Because I gotta treat the best fan base in the world, that's you. I gotta treat you well. All right, folks, 4 games, and Tata Steel 2023 is over. First game I have for you. All right, we need the appetizer of the day. We got Alexander Danchenko versus Velimir Ivic, and Danchenko has been a tour de force in the Challengers section. All right, this one begins with actually an exchange Slav. Actually, an opening that is completely symmetrical. And what normally happens here, if white wants to make a draw, is play bishop d3, and then take, bishop d6, castle, boop, boop, and, you know, rook c1 or whatever, and then the players just make a draw. But actually, Danchenko plays this for a win. So he tries to create a little bit of imbalance here, and we get the following position. Very sharp line. This is the line, and Danchenko just grabs a pawn. Now, black here plays queen c8. You have to trade queens. You cannot stay greedy because then rook c1 loses, actually. That's why you always have to look for checks for the opponent. So queen c8, rook c8. Now, you may ask yourself, why would the guy with the black pieces go for a game where he is just cleanly down a pawn? The answer to your question is, I have no idea. Welcome to Top Level Chess. Basically, the meta here is that because of the opposite colored bishops, probably this is just a draw. Even if one guy is ultimately up a pawn in the end, because opposite colored bishop endgames are very frequently a draw. Well, Danchenko is going to try to win. He plays h4 to make sure black cannot play g5. And yes, black does create a very powerful blockade. Black completely controls the only file. Here's the thing. What does white want to trade? Well, white would love to trade the bishops, but that's not really possible. White would love to trade one pair of rooks, not both, because both would make an opposite colored bishop endgame, all right? So bishop b8, rook a6, a4, and now bishop a7, rook b3, a5. So Danchenko got exactly what he wanted. He got a 1-on-0 situation. 2-1, 1-0, that pawn's gonna walk, all right? And he's got the rook behind it too. So both bishops drop back, they are defended, and now here's that exchange offer. Right? One rook will significantly improve white's chances because black is actually, despite being able to take a pawn, you're not going to be able to stop this. That pawn's going to get to a7. You can run back. That pawn's going to go here, and you'll just play rook b1, rook b8, and that's it. Game is over. So bishop a6, and now here's the endgame that we were looking for. Right? This is exactly what Danchenko wanted, and the rest of the game is actually relatively straightforward. There's the bishop trade we were talking about. He gets to the bishop trade. You get mine, I get yours. First, I give you check. So I try to deflect your king, and now we have this and king f5. But this is a very winnable endgame with white because your rook will hunt the pawns while this rook has to guard this. Now, the only thing that might happen is your rook gets there and then you can't really, move the pawn. Well, here we go. He's pushing, right? e5, rook a8, take. And the pawn gets to a7. Now, the king cannot be out in the open because he will be checked. That's the meta here, all right? The meta is the fact that the white rook can't really move anywhere, all right? Unless it's a check. So the king comes here, rook h8. Rook h8 might have been a little bit rushed, but he plays this, and he gets to this endgame, which is now a 4-on-3. Probably this is a draw, but it has not been very easy to stop Danchenko in this tournament, and Ivic blunders. He blunders the fact that white actually doesn't need to take the pawn at all and just goes h6. So Danchenko sneaks through his h-pawn, and that's it. I mean, it's impossible to stop it now. You just can't get to the pawn. King g3, king f4, rook e7, and the white king just walks down And he gets the job done. I mean, rook c7 check. Black resigns because you'll stop the pawn, you'll win this, you'll push this. Danchenko got 10 points out of 13. Like, bro, he won 7 more games than he lost. Like, that is nuts. That is absolutely ridiculous. And when you win the challenger section in Tata Steel, you go to the Masters. And speaking of the Masters, well, here they are. These are the Masters. So next time, Danchenko, with his fat 10 out of 13 points, best tournament of his life probably, unless he has another one. We're gonna head up here. So, 3 games matter. I mean, some people had good events, some people didn't have good events. 3 games matter. Nodirbek Abdusattorov is leading the tournament by half a point. If he wins the tournament. Okay? He hasn't lost yet. If he draws, then it all depends on how Geary and Magnus do. All right, and we will look at their games as well. So, Nodirbek against Jordan van Forest, right? The Dutchman plays Sicilian defense, a Taimanov Sicilian defense, bishop e3, queen f3. Queen f3 is becoming like a bit of a new thing. It looks dumb, because it looks like the queen has no role. But basically, white wants to castle, and also white wants to play queen g3 and trade off and open up the rook and be like, well, I'm better. Now, black has a lot of moves here. Black has played knight e5, and then when the queen slid over, black plays h5, h4. After queen f3, black has played other things. Black sometimes goes b5, sometimes, knight f6. Yeah, Jordan plays h5. I don't understand this move. I cannot explain this move to you. This is some sort of... I don't know, really. I have no idea. And now queen g3, I'm assuming he would have just played knight e5, but maybe he would have gone d6 and played h4. Like, really, h5 is a combative move. And this is, this is clearly, Jordan is trying to win. Jordan's, like, going out on his sword. He's like, I've lost some games and I've made it into some Gotham recaps, but here we go, h5. Long castle, b5, and now this queen trade, take. But doesn't this just look like it's smart for white? Like, now he has a target, right? Bishop c5 played by Jordan. So now if you take the knight, I take check, and then I get this, and this is just horrible for white. 2 pawn islands that are doubled. Don't do this to your pawns. Now he plays g4. I think g4 was a slightly incorrect handling of the position. The computer really wanted white to do this, and then try to play for f4. All right, now you can also play g4 once you have a little bit of backup. But he plays g4 right away, which attacks the pawn, and Jordan just gives it up. This must have caught Nodirbek off guard. Like, he doesn't care about his pawn. If rook h5, take, knight f6 attacks this, bishop e2, you're telling me black is like, fine? Apparently. Yeah, apparently, like, this is the point. Black is gonna sacrifice the pawn and just not worry about it. And you have to know what you're doing. Like, the guy goes g4, the other guy just gives the pawn away. That move must have really gotten to Nodirbek because he reacted the wrong way. And Jordan plays g6, and now things get real spicy. Knight f5 can be taken twice, but you don't want to do that because since there are all these pawns on light squares, you don't want to lose your dark squared bishop. When you have so many pawns on light squares, your dark squared bishop is very important. But he trades it. He trades it because now there is no way in. The knights are kicked out. There's no way into the dark squares. Now, Nodirbek still tries. Like, he tries to lock it down. Jordan's like f6, f4. But now take. Look at that juicy e5 square. Guess who's going there? The knight. Hello. That knight is looking mighty nice. Rook d4, rook d8. Now Jordan's like, remember that h-pawn you didn't take? I'm back from the dead. h4. Hello. You can go knight g4. But knight c6, rook h... Oh my goodness. But now Nodirbek plays e5, forcing Jordan to lock the center. And now look at this move. You can't take me, because if you do take my knight, I have this, knight f6. Hitting this, and threatening the rook to infiltrate. So everything is bad here. So since you can't do that, you gotta close the position. Jordan's pieces are all on the back rank, and yet, look at this. Look at Jordan's defense here. Bishop back to c8, rook back to h8, retreating to the home squares. This is unbelievable defense. The piece is literally returning to the squares from which they were born. And suddenly Nordjebek realizes, wait, I got nothing. Like, the guy is just threatening to take my knight. What Nordjebek had to play here was the otherworldly a4. Point is, if you take the knight, rook d6, and according to the computer, black is not better. Despite being up a full knight, he's not better because he's so pinned down on the back rank. Nordjebek doesn't see that though, because he's a human being, he's not stockfish. Plays this. And he plays the natural continuation, but here's the problem. All of that just for a drop of blood. None of his pieces can move forward anymore, and now Jordan takes over. Take. Rook back, b3, takes the h-file, infiltrates with the rook, just like you saw last game. One rook trade, just one. You want to win an endgame? You need to trade one pair of rooks. That's the magic number. Don't trade both, then you don't have a rook anymore to attack with. And if there's two rooks on the board, the opponent can create counterplay. That's just the meta. Don't shoot the messenger, all right? Jordan creates a massive barrier, and now these pawns are weak. So his knight rotates around. Uh-oh. Nordjebek tries to break out. One pawn down. Rook in. This pawn takes. Two pawns down. Rook c. Oh my goodness. I can't believe this is happening. Jordan van Foras just defeated Nordjebek Abdusattorov in the final game. At the buzzer. The extra time goal. This is Nordjebek's first and only loss in the entire event. He has been in first place since this event began. And now he has to await what happens in the games of Magnus Carlsen and Anish Giri. So let's go to Magnus Carlsen's game. He's got the black pieces against Arjun Erigaisi, and Magnus showed up to play. And what I mean by that is, he's got the black pieces against, yes, Erigaisi's struggling, he's not having the best tournament. Magnus played a double fianchetto. The computer has an aneurysm watching this, okay? Magnus dances in the center with no pawns. He has no pawns in the center of the board. And Erigaisi plays the right way. Like, he plays the way you're supposed to. But now, here come the pawns. Magnus creates this dark squared pawn formation. Center is locked. What opening does this position closely resemble? The King's Indian defense. What happens in the King's Indian defense? White goes here, tries to eviscerate the queen side. Black tries to eviscerate white. Here we go. F5, F4. Magnus is playing like 2010 chess. Before the computers were saying all this stuff about the King's Indian being dead. B4, G4, H5, blowing it open. H3 hanging on. Now, just so you understand, if black does something like this, the game is over for black. Black just cannot lock that side of the board. So rook F7, bishop F8, rook H7 as the white king is evacuating that side of the board. It's incredible stuff. Look at this. Knight F6, the king is walking to his home square. All right? Now, here's the problem. Magnus is actually knocking on the door on two sides. Imagine a house, a big house. A house that Magnus is trying to break into. He doesn't actually do that for legal reasons. That's a joke. You got a front door and a back door. Magnus knocking on both of them. He got dudes on both sides. What are you going to do? Right? Queen C8. Just a menacing little move. Rook B2. A little maneuvering. Not really sure who's going to break through where. Now, white would love to have this bishop here so he could play C5. But how's he going to get the bishop there? Bishop D, like this, but the king's there. So queen D3, knight F7. Bishop E7. All right, king's made it. But now Magnus takes. Like, all right, king is close. And he breaks open the B4 and G4 squares. And now, here come the rooks. And look at the computer. The computer doesn't like it. It was like, oh, he rushed that. Rook A1 in. Rook H2. Oh my goodness, the infiltrate. This is nuts. This looks like a video game. What is going... How are two rooks just flying down the board? Erigaisi blocks both rooks with both of his rooks. Now, the rooks fall off the board. But Magnus had another idea to win this game. For no reason at all. He doesn't need to do this. Knight takes G. Oh boy. He is giving up his knight. This is a very common idea. Sacrificing a piece like a knight or a bishop in order to create two connected pass pawns. Those pawns are a huge liability when they are separated, but together They are monsters. Look at those pawns. Now, the computer finds different ways and claims different things, but this is a very difficult position to defend, and as a human, probably what you need to do around here is sacrifice at some point. Not right now, you lose your queen, so you go here. Bishop g2, and now both players have made 50 moves. Now, the computer does, in fact, give a big edge to white if he played queen c2, trying to target this by sacrifice. But that's not easy. I mean, bishop h1, like the bishop's just hiding here, all right? Knight c3 plus, you let the engine think long enough, it'll stop actually thinking anybody's better. Bishop f5, oh my goodness, look at this. Oh my goodness. Erigaisi has a chance now to sacrifice, boop, boop, boop. So now he's given back the piece, and the pawn can't come forward. The problem is, this pawn is so good, but look at this queen. Look at this queen. Bishop f6, knight to f7. Magnus Carlsen in this position demonstrated the absolutely ridiculous power of a queen by moving it to one corner of the board, threatening infiltration on two different diagonals, and just a few moves later, when the queen had served its purpose, the queen moved to the opposite side because it infiltrates here too. Yes, you can offer me a queen trade, but when you do that, you walk to that side, and then this comes, and folks, I got news for you. This g-pawn's going. There were too many problems, too far apart in this game. Magnus plays queen a8, and then knight d6, guards his king, and one final dagger. Queen h8 again! I mean, this dude really just played queen h8, then threatened queen a8, and a few moves later, when everything was said and done, he went back. I mean, come on. This is unbelievable stuff. It's like a pendulum. It's like, do, 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 and just back to h8. And that's it. And the queen finally made it in. What a game. What a game from Magnus. Queen infiltrates, and Erigaisi resigned. He resigned because he's getting mated in a brutal fashion here with the queen and the two bishops and the two pawns. But the pawns never walked forward. The pawns were merely a distraction. They were an illusion. But if you took your eye off of them, they would become a problem. So Erigaisi couldn't guard everything. A brilliant final round game for Magnus. And now it all comes down to whether or not Anish Giri can win his game against Rapport. If Anish wins, he wins the tournament. All right? If he draws, then they got to play a tiebreaker. I bet you didn't think that we were going to maybe get a surprising tiebreaker at the end. All right? E4, you already know Rapport's not going to try to kill the game. Rapport's got 3 wins in his last 4 games, by the way. Do not sleep on the man of the hour. So we get a classical Sicilian. This is called a Richter Rause variation. And now the main line is e6, and then you put your bishops like this, and then you attack. He plays this. That's a weird move. You know why it's a weird move? Because after takes, you give black a backwards isolated pawn. A backwards pawn is a pawn that is isolated, but also the square in front of it is like completely covered, and it cannot move forward at all. An isolated pawn generally is more confidently in the center of the board. This, technically, a backward pawn would have like a neighbor that like it supports but can't move forward. This is a very bad pawn. But what black is going to do throughout this game is he's going to just use his bishops. Right? He uses his bishops. Anish does this. He cannot take because of this. By the way, if you ask me why Anish played bishop b5 and then bishop c4, I can't answer that. I really don't know. He could have just played bishop c4 right away. I guess he thought that this was a bad move because maybe... Well, frankly, I don't know. I don't know. He played bishop b5 and then bishop c4. Maybe he just thought that he... I don't know. Take, queen d3, knight d5. So this is what white wants. White wants to blockade the pawn, build behind it, shut down this bishop with c3, and go to work, all right? Rook e8, c3, and Anish has essentially a perfect position. Now here they threaten us with a repetition. That doesn't happen. And we have f5. So he's trying to utilize his bad structure, activate his bishop, bishop b3. We have take, bishop f5 pins the rook to the queen, take. And this is around where I saw the game. And I was like, okay, so white just has like a perfect position. However, Remember, pawn advantage makes no difference if it's opposite colored bishops. All right, like if it's opposite colored bishops, very high drawing chances. However, there's a reason why black is not rushing with this move. It's because I would take, and you have too many weaknesses. Like, yes, it's opposite colored bishops, but at some point you're gonna lose more than one pawn probably. It's just a very unpleasant position. So queen d7, h3, b5, rook c5, looking for counterplay. And now this. Now, this is not opposite colored bishops. This is knight versus bishop with a horrible pawn. Very different situation. So bishop e5, queen e4, king g7, and now Anish goes, I gotta play this for a win. If I win this game, it's gonna be my first win ever in Tata Steel. It's also probably going to be the biggest chess tournament I've ever won. Like Anish has been second and third place at Tata Steel and other tournaments. He has one or two very major wins. Like he's won like this big tournament in China. I forgot the name. I think it's Shenzhen, something like this, Masters. He's never won Tata Steel. It's in the Netherlands. It's in the country he calls home. So he goes for the win. Anish Giri goes for the win. Now, when you go for the win, you sometimes go for the loss. All right, you're making things spicy. And Anish, G4. Now, make no mistake, I would play like this. I'll play F4, G4, no problem. Problem is, if Anish is playing moves that I would like to play, that could be very bad, or that could be very good for me. So he begins an attack. Report says, come get some. I got my bishops, I got my knight, let's go. I'm a Pyotr Yan, you know, I'm gonna cover the head. Pyotr Yan's got a beautiful fighting style, by the way. That dude is so good. Now Anish plays bishop d5. He's going to build behind the bishop. Now, you do not want to take this, okay? If you're playing with black, maintain the tension, but that's hard to do. It's hard to maintain tension as the other guy is building the position up. Remember, I've already talked about this. Knight for bishop is not what black wants, but he takes. All right, then he plays rook c4 and queen e6, and Anish continues to fire forward his pawns. gf5. Knight f4 in between move. The knight dances to the edge of the board now, hitting both the king and the bishop. Now, Report here needed to take a moment, collect himself, and choose a retreating square. All right? He could go back. Yes, white can play rook f1 and try to load up some cannons. It does look mighty unpleasant. The attack will continue despite what the engine tells you. However, Report, with opportunities to go back or sideways, Report goes forward. And he blunders something absolutely incredible. He blunders the move. Well, no. I should preface my sentence because we are at the end of a recap. We are at the moment where a champion will be crowned. The move king g6 allows Anish Giri to sacrifice the rook! Rook takes d6! Now, it's not quite a sacrifice because if you take it, queen f5 is over. It is absolutely done. Queen takes f5 on the board, and it's mate. So if you can't take the rook, but the rook and the knight are threatening to get here, the only thing black can do is run. If you take this with anything, like knight f6, for instance, I take your rook. Rook f6, I go here, and I start making it a bit of a weird game, all right? So Anish says, all right, you want to run? Where you going? Where you going? You move the queen, you can check me, I'm safe. Rook f5, king is hunted, and Anish ends the game and the tournament with queen to g3. That's not mate. Point is that if this rook h5 is coming, and this b4, and you gotta take and get forked. And get forked he did. Queen g3. Game over. Tournament over. Like Paul Pierce, Anish Giri called game on Richard Report. And he wins Tata Steel by half a point. The final standings of the Champions Group, the Masters Group, is as follows. This is probably Anish Giri's biggest career win. It really is. Combined with a win over Magnus, tying for second place was Magnus, by the way, as he tied Nozirbeck with his game, but it was Anish Giri. It's crazy Magnus lost to the two guys right there up top with him. That's the only way you can prevent Magnus from actually getting back. He tied for second place. Now, other storylines in this event. Wesley So had 11 draws and 2 wins. He was rock solid. Big performance for Parham. Folks, the guy who you see in number 6, Parham Maksudlu, he was a late replacement. He was set to play this tournament like 2 weeks before it happened. That's nuts. That's like winning a high-level UFC fight on 2 weeks' notice. All right? We got a lot of guys in the middle, and the other big storyline is Ding Liren. Ding Liren at 12th place with 5.5 out of 13. Now, historically, every player who plays for a world championship has a horrible Tata steal. Fabiano has had a horrible Tata steal. Jan didn't play in the last one. Sergei Karyakin, all right, has had a horrible Tata steal before a world championship event. So maybe he'll shake it off. Maybe this is where he gets the cobwebs off. And it's a shame to see Erigaisi there in the bottom, but it's life. All right, someone's got to finish last. And, you know, Erigaisi had a really rough stretch at some point in the event. He lost like 4 out of his last 6 games or 7. So looking to see him bounce back. Looking to see some of the young guys do better next time, like Gukesh, for example. What a final day. What a tournament. I hope you have enjoyed these recaps. And I will just comment right now, just very briefly on something. I like to be open and honest. When these events are going on, it's very difficult to name my videos Tata Steel Recap 13. Probably afterward, I will go back and rename them something different. But here's the thing, and here's unfortunately the honest truth. If you name your recaps with a Magnus thumbnail and a Magnus picture, they're going to get recommended more. People are fascinated by Magnus. People who don't know anything about chess still know about Magnus. They don't know some of the other players. And if one of the other players has an astounding game, and I put him on the thumbnail, he might not actually get seen. Sometimes there's more views to bring in to another player's career by using Magnus. I mean, some of you know this. You follow football, basketball. You throw LeBron on everything. People are going to watch. This is why people cover the Lakers and things like that, right? More than other sports. Anyway, sometimes I like to have these little thoughts at the end of the tournament. If you're still here, I do appreciate it. Do let me know in the comments. Viewer retention plummets in the last minute of a video because everyone's like done. They go somewhere else. Anyway, that's all. Tata Steel is over. Regular content resumes tomorrow. Merch is coming soon. Other big announcements coming soon. Tata Steel 2023 signing off. Get out of here.